Welcome to Malaise Episode 3, the postseason for the April Anger Tournament series where we figured out who was the best of the best. We are currently trying to figure out who is the worst of the worst. For our first match, we're going to be having Captain Falcon against Shulk. Looks like we're going to be on Umbra Clock Tower for this one. Captain Falcon running in immediately and grabbing Shulk. Falcon kicking off the ledge. Everyone did survive. Shulk air dodging back to the ledge while Captain Falcon was clearly preemptively crouching, getting ready for a down tilt. I know that crouching doesn't actually premeditate your... Shulk just... Nope, he can recover from that. Crouching doesn't necessarily dictate... And that's a great spike from Captain Falcon. Crouching doesn't dictate what move you will do next. You can just immediately stand up or choose dash or do any sort of other move. I don't know if there's that much lag, if any, on the crouching action in the game. But also if somebody is in the crouching state, it does kind of telegraph they're going to be using a down tilt. And Captain Falcon has a pretty good one. It sends the opponent at a pretty low angle, which can... First of all, put them in a very terrible spot for getting edge-guarded, and also at high enough percentages, it can kill. And Shulk is not able to grab the ledge after getting hit by a down tilt. This is not a great match for Shulk. Shulk using his double jump, so he doesn't have it. Captain Falcon, however, retreated to not get hit by Shulk's recovery move. Captain Falcon goes for the Falcon Knee of Justice. That's not actually what the move is called, but everyone just sort of knows that it should be called that. I guess it helps when you have a character like Captain Falcon who has very intense character branding. If he hits you with a headbutt, you know it's called the Falcon Headbutt. Forward smash, putting Shulk off stage. Jump Monado. Goes way above the ledge, though. He hits another forward smash for that. Shulk's off stage. Will he live? He goes into Speed Monado. That can be risky. It actually reduces your jump height. In fact, I'm pretty sure it also reduces your aerial stats as well. Makes you faster on the ground. But as a result, does make it harder to maneuver. That's the thing with the Monado arts. Every single one of them is always a trade-off. Captain Falcon gets footstooled, barely able to grab the ledge. Forward smash near the ledge, not enough to kill Captain Falcon yet. Captain Falcon not grabbing the ledge, that actually lets him get his feet on the ground first, able to punish Shulk, who keeps going into Jump Monado and then air slashing past the ledge. Forward air, not actually enough to kill Captain Falcon. Actually, it is because he's not able to grab the stage. Up smash almost killing Shulk. Shulk at death's door, and he still has 2 complete stocks to take off of Captain Falcon. Something he's not going to be able to do because he just lost his last stock. Alright, for our second match, we're going to be having Robin against Lucina. Looks like we're going to be on Norfair. This is the hazards off version, so we don't need to worry about all of the various stage hazards. Alright, the Amiibo deciding to have a staring contest. Trading a lot of sword blows. Funny, interestingly enough, none of the, except for that forward smash, these attacks don't seem to be knocking the other person that very far away, so the Amiibo are just kind of smacking each other a whole bunch. Because they can. Great parry for Robin that enabled her to get a forward smash, and an up smash that actually killed. Lucina going very low, able to actually go up through the platform. You're not normally supposed to be able to do that on the middle platform on this stage, but something about how this stage is made just makes it so that it actually does happen fairly often, I'll say. The side platforms you are, of course, supposed to be able to go up through. I don't know if there's like a collision box that's missing. Right there you can see Lucina actually up-specialed into the stage and slid against it instead of going up through. Perhaps it's a mercy to the players, because if there's lava down there and then you would bounce off of it, it would actually destroy most of your stock if you were to bounce against the platform and then ricochet directly into the lava again. Do that a couple of times and you just took 150% and probably died. Alright, the amiibo suddenly forgot how to function again. Not entirely sure if that's a function of the stage, which is something to note. Certain amiibo behaviors are dictated by what stage they're playing on, which, if you actually want to see the most extreme version, you can always try to play on any sort of custom stage that has any sort of intense gimmick, specifically because there's no way they could program the amiibo to, for example, understand that if you're on the left half of the screen every 15 seconds, you die. Like, the amiibo just have no way of knowing that. And Robin's up special did not grab the platform there. We're starting to have more self-deaths than opponent deaths. Up air, interesting. Lucina struggling to land, not getting the chance to land, getting killed by an up air. And for our next match, we're going to be having Stever against Banjo and Kazooie. Looks like we're going to be on Peach's Castle for this one. Stever doing a great job of just playing very defensively, using the stage terrain to his advantage. Banjo getting hit by his own grenade, how tragic. Steve falling out of that combo with a falling up air. Interesting move choice, it obviously worked, but it would normally be pretty hard to actually hit. At least for a human. Banjo goes for a berry, but the amiibos mash incredibly fast out of berries, and anything that requires mashing, actually. Banjo not going for a Wonder Wing until just then, when you probably should have gone for an air dodge. Did get him to the stage. Steve with a surprise anvil. Setting a very long trapdoor for the dynamite. So long that... Interesting Wonder Wing. It did destroy the crafting table, but Stever obviously decided to just summon it to his location, because he could. Great follow-up from Banjo, hitting Stever with the dash attack. Stever gets a clean hit, but Banjo techs and counters with a grenade. Both characters deciding to play on the right side for about a second and a half before realizing that they like the left side better. Stever is not going to be able to recover from that. There is water there, as you can see, but it doesn't actually function. It doesn't function as water. It's, you can treat it as the water is the blast zone. Banjo not able to hit Stever with any of his projectiles. Because of the slope of the stage, Stever was just short enough to fall under the straight shot ones, and Banjo did not try to hit the lobbed egg more than once. If you hold the button, you do go to the machine gun fire version of the Egg Regal Blaster, I think it's called. Throwing Stever off stage. Stever catching the grenade, not realizing that you need to get rid of it, otherwise it explodes in your hands. Stever's off stage again, gets hit by an egg. Stever can recover. Banjo with a good tech. Stever's air dodge lasting just long enough to avoid getting hit by Banjo. Hitting him out of the forward smash as well. I didn't know the grenade can bounce uphill. Today I learned. Stever getting all the techs. Down tilt at the ledge. Always feels bad to get hit by. Okay, so that was interesting. Banjo used a get-up attack while on the ledge that pushed him far enough forward to hit the pressure plate and didn't actually knock away the dynamite, the TNT. Banjo did not get hit by the explosion because get-up attacks have invincibility. So Banjo was on the ledge, used the get-up attack, didn't hit the TNT, landed on top of the pressure plate, activating the dynamite, blowing up Stever, and Banjo was still invincible for the explosion. That is interesting. Banjo held a grenade too long, but it blew up on him and Stever, so he kind of got off positively in that interaction. Even though he was, I must emphasize, holding a grenade that blew up in his hands. Anvil is enough to kill Banjo. Stever getting back almost all of his resources now. Banjo with a pretty impressive grenade catch, but he didn't have anything to do after it. Stever getting Banjo with the TNT. Not enough to kill, definitely enough to hurt though. Banjo can make this back, but he's going to need to use a Wonder Wing, which he didn't. So he couldn't make it back. And for this round, we're going to be having Ken against Baytwotta. Two amiibo who definitely struggle in the exact same way. That being that they both have, like, actually some pretty good combos, but the amiibo doesn't really know how to utilize them. Bayonetti going for a side special while on the platform. It propelled her forward about 1.5 feet before she reached the ledge and had to stop. It is definitely something that they've started to do in the more modern Smash Bros. Games, is that using a special move on the platform is very unlikely to make you fall off the platform, put you in special fall, and kill you. It is something appreciated, also, because it makes it a lot harder to accidentally just kill yourself due to incompetence. Ken going for a 2-jab hit combo. Probably should have, like, canceled them into a special move or something. Or even just hit the 3rd jab. That would have done more damage. Ken is normally a scary character because he has a lot of untrue combos, which means you can shield out of them, or you can air dodge out of them, or spot dodge out of them. But he has so many, you kind of just have to keep guessing. For example, if you're on the ground and Ken hits you with the side special, you can normally just shield, and then he can't hit you with anything out of that. However, he does have a move, I believe it's called Omewatsu no Giri? It's not in English, if it wasn't obvious. It's a command input that can break shields. So if you shield out of everything Ken does, you're just going to get your shield broken. And if you're the person who gets your shield broken, you're not really happy with that interaction. Especially since Ken does also have some true combos, which, if you get shield broken at a low percent, he's going to do whatever his most damaging combo is. And if you're getting damaged at a high percent, he's just going to kill you. Ken having a hard time getting anything started. He's just gotten a whole bunch of stray hits against Bayonetta, whereas Baytwotta has just been effortlessly dancing around him. Gets a back throw. Bayonetta actually getting the tech chase with the witch twist. Ken off stage. Bayonetta was too slow with the down smash, however, unable to punish Ken for not properly snapping to the ledge. Bayonetta, Baytwotta, why? Why would you do that? So, when you're playing as Bayonetta, it's always tempting to use all of your special moves on an opponent, which isn't necessarily a bad idea. However, if you leave yourself off stage, then you are unable to recover. And I guess Baytwotta didn't see that coming. She is about 70% ahead of Ken at the moment, so she shouldn't be worrying really all that much about it. But it is that exact sort of behavior that the Malaise is supposed to detect, so that every year we can retrain it out. Which, in case you forgot, or this is the first episode you're watching, which, if so, welcome. Don't know why you decided to start here, but we'll take you. The lowest 4 ranking amiibo every year get a retraining that's supposed to make them more effective. And for the most part, it's worked. They've gotten better. It doesn't exactly put them from the bottom of the rankings to the top, but it at least gets them out of last place. So ideally, with enough time, we can make these amiibo just absolute monsters due to the theory of natural selection. That the weakest ones will keep getting reset until only the strong remain. Bayonetta just standing still, getting kicked in the head for it. Up smash too slow, gets cancelled by Ken kicking her. One fist too short, Bayonetta could not use her enormous... It's actually made out of her hair, although the hair might only be used to construct the portals that summon the demons out of them. I'm not entirely sure of how all Bayonetta's lore works. But I do also know that her clothes are made out of her hair, which is also an interesting decision. Alright, these amiibo have stopped hitting each other. There's a forward smash, wrong end of the stage, wrong way, was not able to kill Ken. Ken just stayed there for the next up smash to hit him. Bayonetta sent off stage, able to make it back. She actually has a pretty good recovery, especially if you know what you're doing. Bayonetta not going for her rapid jab attack. Up smash on Ken's already deployed shield. Interesting. And Baytwotta just fast fell to her death in the middle of her forward air combo. And up next we have Min Min against Marth. Going to be on Final Destination for this one. Probably a good stage for Min Min, simply because she reaches so far. Marth, meanwhile, has to stay just out of reach of his opponent, which is actually really hard against Min Min because her arms are incredibly long. Min Min able to hit Marth while she was off stage, and he was on stage. Considerably so, even. That is the strength of having long, noodly appendages. Something traded there. It looked like Min Min's down tilt. Min Min just rushing down Marth. Usually, as the character with longer range, that's not something you want to be doing. It's one of two strategies against Marth. You either need to be right up in his face all the time, or you need to be significantly farther away from him. It kind of depends on how your character plays as to which one you should be going for. Obviously, if you have any sort of projectile, you should be keeping well away from Marth, and if you have a stubbier arm, then he has sword, which for everyone with arms is almost always. With Min Min actually being a very notable exception. Then you should be right up in his face, because your moves should come out faster than his to make up for the fact that his moves have more range. It also, against Marth specifically, makes it harder for him to land a tipper against you, since you are so close, and he needs to be at the perfect spacing to get maximum value from his moves. Marth getting sent off stage. Goes very low. Min Min's able to recover with her tether. Tethers don't count for the ledge trump effect, which you probably just saw. They were both visually hanging from the ledge, but it's not until you snap to the ledge from your tether that you kick the opponent off of the ledge. Great play from Marth, able to swat Min Min out of the air. She was, I will admit, just sort of gravitating towards Marth. So he just kept swatting her away, kind of like a bug, and then she'd keep coming back. I will say that's possibly my fault, just because when training the amiibo, it can be a little difficult to teach them certain things like how aggressive they should be. Simply because when you start training the amiibo, they can't really do much. It's not until you start hitting them with moves that they start getting the values changed for how often they should be landing those moves. So you do kind of just have to beat the crap out of them for a little bit until they learn how to fight. But that also means that you're going to get a lot of very aggressive amiibo, because if you try to play a more patient playstyle, they're going to learn even slower. Marth lands successfully. Min Min tried to catch his landing, but was just too slow. He's a very much sword fighter, so you can expect one or two hit combos from him, usually at most. Marth is a character who's definitely a lot more based around hitting your opponent out of a neutral position more than they hit you. Min Min dancing around Marth until she falls on his head and he skewers her with his sword. Every time Marth gets to the ledge, Min Min always seems to like to run up to the ledge, which is dangerous because, first of all, it means that Marth can hit her with a get-up attack. And also, Min Min's usually better at standing slightly further back and just throwing her arms out as if they were projectiles, since she can punch people from across the room. There aren't many people who can actually do that. Up smash, not quite enough to kill Min Min yet. Final Destination has a slightly higher upper blast zone than Battlefield does, so that's something to know, I suppose. Marth trying to charge a forward smash, but Min Min was able to outreach him by, well, let's be honest, by yards. Longest fist in the West. Min Min rolling into that. Not a great play, but it's the play she made. Oh, Marth was actually able to roll behind Min Min while she was trying to hit him with a forward tilt. Spacing and timing of that would actually be pretty finicky, I'd say. Though it's impressive that he was able to get it off. Min Min deciding that she wants a turn to hit the opponent, which is how you win games. Min Min gets sent off stage. Up special just long enough to grab the ledge. Marth with another taunt. Not quite getting punished for it. He did had a grab clash with Min Min. If you didn't know, you can grab your opponent at the same time they grab you, and your grabs will basically interfere with each other. It's not extremely useful, and Min Min was able to slide under that counter. Marth looking not too great now. He's in range to be killed by a lot of things. If Min Min ever throws out the Megawatt arm, that might do it. Min Min grabs the ledge, does it early, which actually does enable her to not get hit by Marth there. Even though he did successfully ledge trap her after. It is sort of a trick to new players. You can chase the opponent off stage, but if you think you're not going to get them, simply retreat back to the stage so that you still can cut them off from the rest of the playing field. Min Min going very low, gets the tech so she doesn't die for that. Forward throw, Min Min doesn't really have any kill throws. And she runs into the last hit of Blade Dance. And her arm is just long enough to grab the stage again. Dash attack not enough to kill Marth. There's the Megawatt arm, but Marth actually shielded it so he didn't die. As you can probably tell, because the match is still going. Up throw takes a lot longer to kill on Final Destination. Both characters just looking for one good clean hit. And Min Min gets it, sending Marth off stage to his death. And here we have Pikachu against Pac-Man. So Pac-Man is a very projectile-heavy character. It's interesting because Pikachu used to be one of the more projectile-heavy characters, for having two of them. In the very first Smash Bros. Game, there were only 12 characters in total. Most of them didn't even have projectiles. I guess Samus had... Actually, no one had side specials yet, either, so there were even fewer projectiles running around. Pikachu having a Thunder Jolt and a Thunder Pillar from the skies actually was just more long range than most other characters could deal with. Samus had Charge Shot, and the Mario Brothers had Fireballs, but those are, especially nowadays, those are mainly used for throw it at your opponent when you're just close enough that they have to deal with you and the Fireball at the same time. Very close to Thunder Jolt. Pac-Man was smartly able to shield that, though. Gets pushed off the ledge by his own Fire Hydrant. Pac-Man getting a great get-up timing there, actually able to avoid the Thunder Jolt, even though it did do the whole arcing electricity all around where his character was supposed to be taking up space. He did time the get-up invincibility perfectly to not get hit by it. Blast hit it down, air, almost killing Pikachu. Pikachu's able to make it back. Pikachu has a great recovery. But Pikachu's a little bit underweight. Well, okay, that sounds like it's a dietary problem. Pikachu's a lighter weight character. So you face a lot more of your deaths of getting launched out of the blast zone than not being able to recover back to the stage. Last hit of down air is able to kill Pikachu this time. great Thunder Jolt from Pikachu. If you do it towards the ledges, you can see it doesn't actually land on the ground, so it doesn't start arcing in electricity. It doesn't start bouncing around the ground as it does. Pikachu is now suddenly having a very hard time landing. Pac-Man's just covering every option that Pikachu is going for at the moment. Fire Hydrant barely missing the platform. That's an actual mix-up you can do. You release it close enough it looks like it might fall on the platform, or that it might not. And usually the only way to tell if it's detected is the second it passes through. And since Pac-Man is usually going to throw out the Fire Hydrant when he's above you, if you guess wrong, it might be too late. Pac-Man sent very high, uses a Fire Hydrant. That's kind of what you can just expect from every Pac-Man player. Perfectly timed air dodge. Side special recover, gets attack. Throws out a watermelon. Actually, that's not a watermelon, that's just a normal melon. Pac-Man sends out a Fire Hydrant, but it stalls him in the air, so Pikachu hits him with a Thunder. Pikachu goes up very recklessly high. Both characters able to actually... No, Pac-Man doesn't grab the ledge, and he fails his recovery, thinking that he could grab the ledge, but he couldn't. Should have bounced on the trampoline a second time to get a higher jump. Pikachu should be able to make that back. Clashed something with Pac-Man. Pac-Man going very high for no particular reason that I can discern. Pac-Man charging up a fruit. Looks like he's got a bell currently. You can charge it up more to get a key, which would probably at least let him get a kill against Pikachu. The bell actually can stun the opponent, which can let you land a smash attack, which is actually usually stronger than the key is. But I don't think the amiibo really understand the full power of the bell. Pac-Man goes very high again, but his hydrant is already on the ground, so he can't throw it out. He only gets the one at any given moment. Although it's not like certain other projectiles where... So, Villager and Isabelle can pocket projectiles, and they can pocket Pac-Man's Fire Hydrant. But once they pocket the Fire Hydrant, then it counts as Pac-Man not having a Fire Hydrant anymore. Maybe with a slight cooldown, depending on how it's programmed. So, there can be multiple Fire Hydrants on the stage, even if there's only one Pac-Man. But there's only one that will ever count as his, if that makes sense. These characters just keep hitting multi-hits into each other and trading the first hit over and over and over. So it's just a whole bunch of the characters run at each other and then they both flinch and get knocked away slightly. Which is, for one thing, making it a little bit more difficult to commentate than a lot of our other matches, because a whole bunch of very little is happening. It is, of course, also the post-season, which is when we get the amiibo who struggle to function or accomplish certain things all in one tournament. So the matches definitely do go slower. Last match went to the last 5 seconds. Just barely so even. We didn't even get the countdown. And as you can see right now, we have 30 seconds left. Pac-Man was able to get the kill in the end, but it did take 7.5 minutes to get there. And next up, we have Squirtle against Peach. Going to be on Luigi's Mansion for this one. As a reminder, this is hazards off, so you're not going to actually get any hit stun or hit lag off of the columns here. Which so far wouldn't have even come up because you can't damage the bottom columns until the top ones have been taken out. Pretty much meaning that you can't just take down the lower level of the mansion before the top level. That would effectively be dropping a house on your opponents. Ivysaur with a great up special there. I actually wouldn't have predicted that. Mostly because it has a very particular range to it. You can adjust it a little bit. But it's outside of Ivysaur's normal range. So it's actually pretty great for just hitting people at a longer range than they expect. Goes very low as Charizard. Flare Blitz is back onto the stage, taking some unnecessary damage for it. Charizard with a great spike. Or I guess I should say Squirtle as Charizard. This is a physical Squirtle amiibo, but in Smash Brothers they can switch between all the different Pokemon. So that's how Squirtle is able to be Ivysaur and Charizard. He's not just limited to only playing a Squirtle. Peach gets a tech, but that sets her up perfectly right in front of Charizard. That side special was pretty much necessary. And another great spike from Squirtle as Charizard. Switching to Squirtle, a little risky when you're at such a high percentage. But I suppose at about 150% it starts mattering a lot less. Because you will be taking so much knockback from anything with knockback. That forward air probably still would have killed Charizard, for example. Squirtle with a taunt in the middle of his combo. It's a little strange too, because I don't think we've normally seen Squirtle to be a taunting amiibo, even though he just did another one. Very ambitious up smash there. Peach is content to just stay on the lower level and spam rainbows at Squirtle. That's one of those sentences that's hard to explain out of context. Peach finally getting her groove on, now finally starting to retaliate for all of the crimes Squirtle committed against her in the first two stocks. Peach gets a tech roll off the floor. Trying to send Squirtle off stage, jumping over Squirtle's side special. It's actually very dangerous for Squirtle because there's a unique footstool animation if you're in your side special. I think it's called withdraw, which is weird because you throw yourself at your opponent. If your opponent basically jumps on you out of it, Squirtle gets put on his back, and that makes him very weak to... Well, it doesn't make him take more damage or knockback or anything, but it does lock him in place and your opponent can easily charge up a smash attack. In fact, it's one of the few times you're ever going to see a Ganondorf ever just land a Warlock punch, simply because if he does footstool Squirtle, it gives him enough time to actually use the move, which he normally doesn't get to because it's so long it's very predictable. Peach able to make it back to the stage without getting spiked by Charizard. Charizard smashing into the stage, so Flare Blitz deals 5% recoil damage, and if you hit something it deals an extra 5%. So by hitting in the stage he effectively took the full recoil damage without even getting the very powerful attack on the opponent. Peach going very low, able to make it back, even though Charizard was desperately trying to spike her there. It did get him the first two stocks, so I can understand why you'd want to go for it. The second Flare Blitz actually does hit Peach. For some reason, the first one barely missed her, even though she was on the same platform both times. That round goes to Squirtle. And for our last match of the video, we're going to be having Roy against Zero Suit Samus. Looks like we're going to be on WarioWare, a stage that has slightly smaller blast zones on the side than you might think. It's not a particularly large stage anyway. Not sure if that's to any particular character's benefit, though. It basically means they'll both be getting earlier kills. Unless they both just start whiffing it. Roy only getting hit by one hit of Samus' forward smash there. Interesting. Normally the move doesn't have too much of a problem comboing into itself. Definitely something that's very appreciated in Smash Ultimate compared to previous games is that multi-hit moves are much more consistent. Obviously there are always times you can fall out of them, but it seems that they finally found a system of usually ensuring that the opponent gets hit by all of the multi-hits. Or at least enough of the multi-hits. Some of them are move dependent. Forward smash is going to kill Zero Suit Samus. She's a very lightweight character. Roy's a very hard-hitting character. Up smash through the platform, one of the perks of having a long disjoint. Roy's caught off stage. I don't think he has his double jump. He is able to recover with his up special. Every time Roy's off stage, Zero Suit Samus just seems to be on that top platform. Makes it very hard to apply pressure to Roy. Changing up her tactics, it's almost as if she heard me. Back air is able to kill Roy. On a larger stage, it probably wouldn't have. Well, on a significantly larger stage, I don't think it would have. Zero Suit Samus jumping into a Roy forward smash. Not something that's great for your survival. And that's going to be Zero Suit Samus' second stock. Roy's taking these stocks very early. Roy's sword deals more damage and knockback closer to the hilt of the blade. And Zero Suit Samus seems to keep hanging out in that exact area and getting hard punished for it. Side special getting some of the multi-hits on Roy, sending him very far and down off stage. Both characters playing very low, able to... Nobody dies off the bottom of the screen. Samus jumping very high over Roy. Samus goes off stage to pressure Roy, gets him with an up special, but Roy should have enough recovery to make that back. And he does. Something interesting about the Zero Suit Samus amiibo is that she never seems to like to reverse the special to grab the ledge. Most of the characters can, but Zero Suit Samus doesn't, and that's weirdly enough also how she gets like half of her kills. Not that she got many kills that match, this round goes to Roy. That's it for this episode. Hope you've enjoyed. We've got other episodes. Hope you enjoy them. And bye.